Many Nigerians actually believe that they own pidgin language. After all, it's being spoken everywhere, even in churches. Who goes you? No wahala na who they, things like this. It feels very Nigerian, so original, that most of us always convince ourselves that it started here. I wouldn't blame anybody though. So I'm here to correct that today because it never started here. Nigeria did not invent pidgin English.
Who goes see them?
Shock you, ba? Nigeria never invented pidgin English. Pidgin is spoken across West Africa, in Cameroon, in Ghana, in Sierra Leone, in Liberia, each with their own unique flavor, with their own taste. So who really owns it? The truth is that pidgin English was never born out of culture, but out of necessity. It was more like a survival language. Hundreds of years ago, when the Portuguese, later the British, arrived the shores of West Africa for trade, they were faced with one huge problem: communication. Now Africans now, and their polished way, they couldn't understand local languages, and locals couldn't understand their proper English. Problem day. This should also teach someone something, that whenever you're intentional about getting something, setting a goal, and you are faced with a particular kind of challenge, whether you are familiar with it or not familiar with it, rather than going back, intentions, vision, your plans will make you stay and find a way around that challenge or go back. Now, if you're highly intentional, you will be motivated to find a way to solve or handle that very challenge. That is what the Portuguese and the British did, because they were intentional in coming into Africa to do one or two things that would benefit them. They found a way to handle the very challenge that was communication, which is the first thing for trade. You need to consider communication. So both sides created a bridge, a broken, simplified form of English mixed with African expressions, just enough to trade and negotiate. That bridge was pidgin. Nobody set out to create it, simply evolved piece by piece as a survival language. But here is where Nigeria comes in. While other countries kept their pidgin at base beginner level, just for trade and transactions, for casual speech, Nigeria transformed it into a cultural powerhouse. Today, pidgin is the language of our music, our comedy, our Nollywood movies, our radio stations. Over 75 million Nigerians speak it daily, more than any other country in the world. This is why, although Nigeria did not invent pidgin, we became the face of it. We gave it rhythm. We give it style. We give it global attention, from Fela Kuti to Wizkid to Burna Boy, Olamide, Davido, Rema, the likes. They took pidgin to the global stage and popularized it. That today, even a lot of Europeans are struggling to communicate with Nigerians over there with pidgin because of how interesting it sounds. And that is the spirit of Nigeria. We may not always be the origin, but always become the leader. That is why we are called the giant of Africa. That name, that thing will be just, you get reason why we collect them. Not just by words, by actions. So yes, pidgin may not have been born in Nigeria, but it was in Nigeria that pidgin found its true voice. And that, my friend, is something to be proud of. So now that you know the history of pidgin, now that you know the truth, Africa may have bettered it, but Nigeria made it unforgettable. So